See water rushing in as men scrambled to stay afloat. Grace tried to shield herself from the falling debris, getting hit in the head, lay there hurt, slightly maimed, as the men were washed away, never to be seen again. Feeling herself losing consciousness. Slowly tilting her head before losing her eyesight blurred into nothingness, looking as quickly as she could, towards the entrance to the Mermaid Kingdom, had almost been closed forever. Being the captain's son was never easy. Maximus showed him the secrets of the islands and what they held, and how special they really were to outsiders that came looking for them. Teaching him, if ever caught helping the sea creatures. In these islands this position took a formidable man. Maximus was powerful orchestrating his duties, as his father taught him to do so. In time Jax understood his responsibilities would weigh heavily on his young shoulders. However, Jax looked forward to the day he could share his secret with his sister Stella. Jax knew his father's generation of captains, as he also grew up in the islands working both the harbour and train station. Everyone expected the best of him as he demanded from himself. Working alongside of Maximus, in time learned the greed of others at a very young age. Encountering others at the harbours claiming to have seen the sea creatures and treasures beyond belief in these caverns. Many times seeing the unexplainable artifacts himself. Did his father, took the island's welfare seriously and its never-ending commands in itself. Spending a decade making sure he had all the specific preparations, Jax gathered everything he needed to make his voyage to the Northern Islands as fast as he could without being noticed. He didn't have but a few more weeks to make it to the Mermaid Cave in time. Before the moon's light would shine down on the compass, one of the few last relics held by humans, he held in his hands, showing him the entrance to the Mermaid Kingdom. If he didn't make it on time, the entrance would be lost forever. Jax, bound and determined to keep his promise to his father, worked hard to get his ship away from the jagged boulders they shone in the rising and falling of the waves. Anchoring at the waterfall's edge, making his way up to the sunken city, pulling at tangled roots and overgrowth of vines proved to be grueling for one. It was almost time. Grace, opening her eyes from arrested sleep, stumbled sleepily over to the cool foggy widow facing the lighthouse, trying to understand why it looked so familiar. Without waking Stella, Grace went up to her limb, just wanting to take a look around. Sat quietly watching a man coming up the shaded path. Weeks went by. The holidays were especially cold. Ships in the harbor came and went with the tides. Neve worked at the lighthouse, quietly worried about the trio. He couldn't shake the thought that he recognized her new friend from afar. Stella's new friend. Was that her? Was she still alive after all this time? The eve of the Mermaidian moon was weeks in coming fast, and the entrance to the mystical cave behind the waterfalls would be revealed soon. Jax knew, only then, Grace could then be reunited with her fellow sea creatures and finally live her days as they should be, with her kind, and not being hunted. Neve decided to take an unscheduled walk out to the cliffs, full of questions that needed answers. Making his way up the path towards the tiny treehouse. Slowly walking up to the tree limb she was sitting on quietly, standing there for what seemed like an eternity, catching his breath. It was Grace. Grace startled, turned and saw the kindness in his eyes, studied his face softly. Heart bounding, memories of all they ever shared. She too could see in his face, his lips tightened and sadness in his gaze. He too was reminded of the way things had to be. Staring into each other's eyes, embracing Grace, as she too held him. Time has a strange, eternal way of bringing the lost back. He only knowing in this moment, he would never lose her again. There were a way to have both lives to live together, as one, she knew of no others before her ever dreamt such a thing, afraid to be hopeful. Yet, Still, they locked eyes with desperation, grinned determinedly. Their fates mutually decided in that moment to attempt what no one before had dared. He would accompany her to her native homeland. However, they would have to hurry as fast as they could before it was too late. The two grasped hands and started running as fast as they could before the Mermaidian moon closed the portal to the Mermaid Kingdom forever hiding the entrance. Jack struggled to keep the entrance open. The intensity of the moon's light suddenly started to make the entrance rage uncontrollably with pulsing energy. As Neve and Grace came up to the portal, stepping up to go through Neve momentarily, looking back at Jack silently nodding serenely. He wasn't returning, both never knowing they had someone on their side the whole time. New Jacks didn't have long before the moon's light faded. Flashes of light flickered. They knew they had to jump. They knew they had to jump now, and in a blinding flash, they were gone instantly. All that remained was a cavern of burnt stone.
Storybox Audio.
Perplexed, Jack sat down on the high cliff of the waterfall that Neve knew of the kingdom of mermaids. Marveling at the sights he just witnessed, laughing to himself, thinking, his sister isn't going to believe his tall tale.